Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Shealey. Everybody, I have been waiting on this young lady. She excites me. If you don't know who Queen, and I'm gonna try to not mess her name up, Yonasda. She gonna correct me, y'all. She gonna correct me. But welcome to the broadcast this morning. Welcome to the broadcast this morning. I am super excited to have her. I am super excited. This woman is an activist. She's a speaker. She's a published writer. She's a community organizer. She is a rap artist. And I study all my guests, right? But this lady here, I just kept going and going and going. She has so much stuff online that I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is phenomenal. When I tell you there's people doing phenomenal work across this country, there's activists that are on fire that don't get the recognition that they so rightly deserve. So I just wanted to lend our broadcast here in Georgia. For those of you who know who I am Tamara Shealey. I'm your candidate for the United States Senate. But you know my heart is activism. You know my heart is for fighting for those of us who can't fight, for those who can't fight for themselves. That's where my heart is. And so when I found her, I started immediately following her online, and I'm like, she is the truth on so many levels. She is the truth. So I am just honored to have her as a guest this morning. Queen, let me bring her to the screen, y'all. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me come on your show. This is amazing.
Apps. You know what? I don't know how I came across you, and I don't even know how I've missed you all these years. But as soon as I came across you online, Queen, I follow you, and I'm like, I don't know who she is, but I'm learning all about her. Like, and she's been around forever, so it's not like you new to this. You've been true to this the whole time, and I'm like, why is this lady is here in Georgia? I know you moved here, but I'm like, this lady is here. Do we not know who we have in our presence? So I am honored to have you, Queen. And help me pronounce your name, because I've heard so many pronunciations online, and I'm like, and I've heard you say, and I want to say, let's see if I get it right, Yonasda.
You're close. It's Yo-Naja Ha. Yeah, your reception is kind of cutting out. Is it me or you? I'm trying to.
Oh, I hear you well.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes,
yeah, it's kind of cutting out a little bit. Let me try to go to my office area, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, we hear you well, and I have you live on Wisdom, on the Wisdom app. We are on Clubhouse as well. It's 11:11. Look, it's something about them ones that do it for me. It's 11:11. I am honored to have
11:11 is a powerful number.
Oh yes, and I see it a lot, and I'm like, okay, God, and I like, what are you telling me? But whatever he's telling me, I'm receiving it.
Right.
So yeah, so we are here on Facebook. I am here on Twitter, and we're somewhere else, YouTube. We are in a few spaces, and I'm honored to have you, Queen. I want you to tell us, like I said, you are everything, and I'm just delighted to have you. So I'm going to let you start out with introducing yourself.
Yes, well, my name is Yonasda Ha Lonewolf. I am a proud Oglala Lakota Native American and Black woman. My mother was Wauneta Lonewolf from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and my father is Black from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a national community organizer, an activist, an author. I have been on many media platforms and TV shows. I was on a show on BET called Cop Watch America. They were documenting myself and other activists in Atlanta, Georgia, as well as in New York, on our fight against police brutality. And I am currently right now founded an event/organization called Revolutionary Healing, where we are doing on the third Sunday of every month of getting our people together on various ways to self-improve. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the basis of community development is self-improvement. And so I was like, well, in order for us to build our community, we have to really work on and have also avenues and places and ways that we can self-improve and doing it in a safe space. So I started that as well. And so yeah, I do a lot, but it's all the same mission of God's work and the purpose that God has me on to help our people and using me to do that.
Yes, I am. You are phenomenal. Like I said, when I found you online, I'm like, this lady has been around, and I'm like, Georgia, do we not know who we have in the midst? I know you've moved here now. Are you in the metro area? Are you outside of the city?
I'm in the metro area. I moved here in 2014. I've done a lot of community organizing here, but even though I've done stuff in other cities and nationally and all that, when I moved to Georgia, I started for several years just to be a student and to learn and be around people like Mary Hooks and the local NAACP and the SELC. Like I was just basically like, let me be around people that have been doing this here, and whatever way I could be a service to do that, and immediately they been in kind of more so in the forefront. They pushed me in the forefront of like organizing because of the fact of things that I've done in other places. But I love here in Atlanta. I was out there from all of the cases, all of I helped the mother of Jamarian Robinson get her story out there, of what happened to Jamarian, from name a march. I helped organize it, the Women's March, everything that we've been doing here locally. And then the most recent one was in less than 24 hours, myself and my comrades, we organized the Solidarity for George Floyd. And we had over about 30,000 people down at the CNN building in Centennial Park. And then the police instigated it, and it ended up turning into a riot, which we all know as what that was, the uprising in Atlanta. And then from there, TI reached out to me and was like, I want you to meet the mayor and let's figure out ways. And so she did the executive order for the Obama policing reform. I realized since living here that the police brutality problem is a lot different than other cities, just because it is a predominantly Black police force. But it's more so it had me look at it that it wasn't just white and Black, but more so of a colonial mindset that we have to, and it's sad that sometimes we have to fight against our own people in Atlanta, especially around the police brutality problem that is here. But Atlanta does have a police brutality problem, and we've been working very hard to try to shift that and change that, and more diverse, cultural diverse, more understanding in regards to the trainings of the police officers, and that is something that I've been working on. I was on her task force on police accountability. These tasks, she's like the Mayor Keisha Bottom. She was infamous for a task force, so I was on her task force, and right now, currently, I have been working trying to get the state of Georgia to change its Christopher Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. I was able to get it changed in Gwinnett County as well as the city of South Fulton. And I'm working on for the state because, and this is that duality that I have of being Black and Native American, is fighting these multiple fights, from police brutality, and the flip side for, for recognition for Native Americans that are still living here. As we know, the history of Georgia with the Indian Removal Act, where they put with the Indian Removal Act here in Georgia. Georgia is one of the few states that do not acknowledge Native Americans, period. Even on regards to resources like healthcare, even in housing, they do not acknowledge it. So I'm really moving forward. I've been working with State Representative Park Cannon, and I'm trying to get more of the state politicians to be able to help me in regards to there is so many Native Americans here, whether you're mixed with Choctaw, Cherokee, Chickasaw, but there needs to be resources for Native Americans here in Georgia. We should not have to go to Alabama, North Carolina to get our health care, because we do get health care from the government, from the federal government, free health care, but we shouldn't have to go all these places. So I'm really working on trying to get Georgia to right its wrongs from the past of history with the Indian Removal Act, with the Trail of Tears, and basically welcoming back those that they forcibly removed, which was a lot of our ancestors that were also freed slaves with the Cherokee, Choctaw, and the Chickasaw and the Creek, that they pushed out of Georgia and pushed into other states. And so I'm on some Harriet Tubman right now, trying to get our people to come back home to the state of Georgia.
Wow. You said so much there. I just want to dive into, you mentioned Jamarion Robinson. I believe Jamarion was shot like 76 times, some astronomical, just made no sense. Like yes, I appreciate you for staying in the fight with this mother. I know Monteria, and I've been, I've been a voice to her in her activism as well. So yes, so thank you for all you've done for Jamarion. I saw you at the Ahmaud Arbery trial in the streets, letting the streets know that letting the people inside of those buildings know that the streets, we're here. And
well, I went there right when Jamarion was murdered. And that video footage was when he was murdered, and I went out there. Everyone was shook. Everyone was scared to even speak up, to say. And I said, no. I saw their truck. That truck, it was still in the driveway. A month after they murdered Ahmaud Arbery. That just goes to show, if we didn't say his name or march or protest or petition or post, there's so many Ahmaud Arbery's all around the country that people are not, we have to speak up. We have to say these names. And the spirit just led me to just go down there, to meet the neighbors, to get my own investigation, because I was like, if I actually ran where Ahmaud Arbery jogged that day. They said Ahmaud would jog all throughout the neighborhood all the time. They all knew Ahmaud. All the neighbors, and the neighbors was a very diverse community, very diverse where Ahmaud lived, and so they said they all knew him. They said, oh yeah, he's an athlete. We knew him. And so I was just like, nah, we're gonna shut we're gonna let everybody know. We're gonna shut this neighborhood down. Everyone was coming outside. I had the Black Panthers with me. I had, the FOI with me. I was like, I had some other folks with me, Marcus Coleman and some other, state reps and city officials. And I was like, we going out there and we're gonna shut it down. And that's exactly what we did. Make everyone uncomfortable to say his name. And we have to say everyone's name. We have to continue to say the name of so many those that people may have forgotten or don't even know their stories.
Yeah. And we won't forget George Floyd. Yeah. That will forever live in our spirit. I could not, honestly, Queen, I could not even watch that. I never watched the whole video. I saw the picture, and that was enough for me. And I just knew that my spirit couldn't handle the trauma of that. Like I couldn't, I wouldn't have rested. So I never watched it. Yeah. But we can't be quiet, and we can't be silent on these issues, on the things that are happening to us as a people. And hence why I run. I think we all have our place, and I get in the streets. I don't mind getting in the streets, but I've found that for me, my voice is inside political processes with these people, speaking truth to power to their faces.
Right. And that's important. I always say that there's different positions in revolution. Everyone doesn't have to be on the front line getting tear gassed and all of this and marching and all of that. You have a position in the classroom for revolution, to be able to inspire, to empower, to uplift, to educate our young people. We have positions, in politics. We need more politicians that are for the people, not just for the finances of whatever. We need people that are actually listening to the people, that could be our voice. And I think that we have been losing that for centuries in regards to those that are really connected to our people, and like, no, let's go ahead, let's not push people out of these neighborhoods, to be able to have a high rise there. Let's not, and that's another thing too. We have to focus on our local elections. We're so much on our federal, like we have to look at our local elections. And what we saw with the Rittenhouse case is because of the fact that we're not focused on our local elections. We vote for these judges. We vote for everyone that are in these positions of power. And if we're not doing that, if we're not voting for our local elections and getting to know the local folks, then we're going to constantly see more guilty people being innocent in the court of law, knowing that they're guilty, so
yeah, watching him walk away I'm like, I'm confused.
I know.
I'm confused.
I know. We saw it with Trayvon Martin. We saw it with Emmett Till. We saw it with so many. And we are now in a position for Black and Brown and Native people that are for the people, that want to see us win, in positions to be able to vote for our folks that are wanting us to be liberated and free.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back. So you are working on Indigenous Peoples Day in the state of Georgia, and you've done this work. I live in Gwinnett County, and you've done this work, and I'm like, Gwinnett County, why have we not heard about it as Gwinnetians? Like, why have we not heard about this work? I found it on your YouTube channel. I saw a video where you were standing in front of in the Gwinnett courthouse, maybe, I think it was.
Yeah, in the Gwinnett, in you all's city office, city council.
Yeah. So where's Gwinnett didn't tell us that this was even happening. So let's go back, because I kind of want to get into some of the history. Do we have a Native American population here in Georgia, or even in Gwinnett? We don't know.
Gwinnett County has the largest Native American population. There is over, whether they're federally recognized or not federally recognized, there's about 63,000 indigenous people that live in the state of Georgia.
Wow. You know what? I did not know that. And how do their voices get heard? Like, how do we, where are they? Where are they not? Where are they? Because
there's no, I would say, legislation wise, and because of the Indian Removal Act, there hasn't been any resources or a platform. It's been very black and white in Georgia. Very black and white in Georgia. There is so many indigenous people from South America, Latin America, that there's so many Native Americans that are still here that wasn't removed during the Trail of Tears. But when it comes down to creating and welcoming, like just last month, or the November 1st was the first time Gwinnett County was like, you know what? When I reached out to them, they was like, we still do have Christopher Columbus Day. Let's go ahead and change this to Indigenous Peoples Day. They were like, we're so happy that you reached out, and I was like, there was power. Like, I learned that they was having powwows at the fairgrounds in Gwinnett County every single year, all the way up into 2012.
Wow.
But guess, a lot of the people were coming in from North Carolina. There has to be some welcoming, first acknowledgement that, you know what, let's go ahead and acknowledge. And the thing what I've learned in Georgia is that, especially more in Georgia than other places, like I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and my tribe is in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. There's a huge population of Native Americans that are full blood, But here in Georgia, it's very mixed. Black, Native, or white, Native. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very, very mixed. So that means that what even here, we're not monolithic people. It's not like, oh, this person looks just like a full-blood Native American, or however you may think a Native American person should look in regards to like, but it's very diverse here. But there are many Native Americans here that are practicing their language, their culture, the ceremonies, everything. But we in Georgia have to create more of a welcoming, like I said, like healthcare. The federal government promised us certain things by stealing our land. they they promised us certain things by stealing our land, which was healthcare, which was housing, which was education. And I have to go. I'm battling lung cancer. My medication is $17,000 a month. Thank God for a group that's been taking care of it. But I haven't had my medication in about a month and a half because for some reason something's happening with the group and the doctor. I don't know what's going on, but I haven't had my medication in like a month. I shouldn't have to make an appointment in Hollywood, Florida, or Alabama or North Carolina for free health care. I should be able to get these type of resources here in Georgia. There should be free. I have dual citizenship. I'm enrolled in my tribe federally, and I'm also a resident of Georgia. I should be able to either pick and choose. Either I want to do a group, or if that won't work, my Indian health, my Native American healthcare should kick in. These are the type of things, and that's why so many natives do end up like, I'm going to Oklahoma, I'm going to North Carolina, I'm going to Alabama, because of these type of things, that we should be able to have access to. And the state of Georgia does not acknowledge Native Americans. But they have McIntosh Park. They have they use this as a mascot, Atlanta Braves. They have all of these monuments like we were some ancient people, but we're still here. We're still here. And if there's any state that I've ever organized with, especially for Native people, it will be this state. And it's because I live here too. I'm even like, oh yeah, I have to change this. There has to be something for acknowledgement. There has to be something where we are having resources available to us, because every other state, like even we have HUD housing, we're able to get free housing. And I don't want to move to North Carolina. I don't want to move to Florida. I want to stay here in Georgia, and I would like to buy a house. I want a house, and the state of Georgia doesn't even acknowledge that. Like they really was like, we're going to move all of the Native American, we're going to forcibly remove all these Native Americans that are here, and we're going to keep control of Georgia, that there is absolutely no welcoming back of any Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, of the civilized, the tribes that were here. And we're in 2021. That has to change.
I'm just, like I said, and I'm native Georgian, and my great great grandmother on my mother's father's side, my mother's side, her daddy's grandmother. I remember stories, like, we all have stories. And I remember stories about this Indian woman. And they didn't call her an Indian, but I could tell she was an Indian woman because they talked about how silky black her hair was. Like she had silky black hair. So we have stories, but I didn't know. And I didn't know that there was still a Native American population here in Georgia. I didn't know.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of other Georgians that we don't know. And then there was powwows happening here in Gwinnett County and on the fairgrounds. Like, This is all brand new information.
There was just a Native American festival 2 weeks ago, right over in Indian Springs Park. There was, and so I think there's a powwow. I think there's a powwow this weekend. If you just Google Native American events in the month of November, this is Native American Heritage Month. And so there is events that is happening, you know, but there has to be a statewide welcoming, a statewide sponsorship, a statewide acknowledgement. And so even though these are holiday changes, this is all steps towards reconciliation, all step towards acknowledgement. We have, you know, Native people all across this country, we say we are still here. When I was in Standing Rock fighting against the Dakota Access Pipeline, which was an oil pipeline that was going to be built along the Missouri River, Standing Rock is my sister tribe. And when we was up there, you know, we was making national news. It was hundreds of thousands of people coming all across the world that was coming to Standing Rock, North Dakota. And our number one chant we were saying was, we are still here. Stop taking from us. Stop stealing from us. Stop, you know, acting like we are some historical monument, like we're historical people, that we're like a costume that you could just dress up as, and thinking that it's cool because no one would care because we're like some ancient people. No, we're still here. Just like how the Mayans are still here. Mayan people, there's so many Mayan Native Americans that are living in the state of Georgia that are also Aztec. You know, we are Tainos. There's so many of indigenous people that are here in the state of Georgia. But if we're not, we especially as Black people, we have to be able to know that we're not monolithic people. We have cousins we have distant relatives that look just like us in Mexico, that look just like us in South America, that look just like us that's in the Caribbean, that looks just like you. We have to know that it's not Black people are not a monolithic people either. We come in various languages and culture and skin color and everything. And I think that, you know, one of the biggest things that I know, that to try to get the state to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day and change its holiday from on Christopher Columbus to Indigenous Peoples Day, is that I'm going to have to speak to the Congressional Black Caucus and saying, this is also your fight. We are still here. I bet there is so many people that's in the Congressional Black Caucus that have Native in their lineage. You have it in your lineage. We have to be able to welcome our ancestors back, whether they were free slaves that were forced with the Choctaw Chickasaw Creek, they also too was forced to Oklahoma. I said this on the Breakfast Club, is that a lot of people don't know that Black Wall Street was Black and Native Americans. They were Black Indians. The cowboys that we just saw that they depicted on Harder They Fall, they were Black Indians. You know, especially in the South, there's so much history of us uniting and coming together, you know. And I see it says united, Black and red. You're absolutely right. Historically, yes, we have been united. We have fought the Seminole Wars, freed African slaves and the Seminoles that were there. You know what I'm saying? The Miccosukee, you know, they were there like, let's fight this together. Black Wall Street, let's build it. Okay, they pushed us out of Georgia. We're going to go ahead and build in Oklahoma. They build in Oklahoma. It was Black Wall Street. And it was on sovereign land. So they was like, we got to burn this place. You know, there's so much rich, beautiful history of the relationship between the Black and the red.
And you know what? I want to speak to that because there is a lot of conversation. So, you know, I'm a reparationist. So I'm fighting hard for reparations for those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery, because that is who America owes. Yeah. But there's so much conversation, because as fighting for reparations for descendants of chattel slavery, there's a conversation about the fact that we're Native as well, and what this needs to look like, because some people say we were already here. So, speak to that history, because I think that that's a conversation that is being had in a lot of these social spaces, particularly Clubhouse. And they're having these conversations about out loud, because, like, again, they say that we were already here. So what does this reparations actually need to look like in your mind?
So one thing I love is going to other tribes all around the United States. Like there's 562 tribes federally and non-federally recognized in the United States. My tribe in South Dakota, we're in the middle. So we're not on the shore. But when I've met with elders and learned about their stories, of historical stories that were passed down, like just like African tradition, Native American tradition, um, Asian, like any indigenous people of the continents have oral history, and it's on the walls, whether it's on the pyramids in Egypt or whether it's on the pyramids in Mexico. It's on the walls, it's on our quilts, it's on our regalia, it's on our designs, it's in our songs, it's in our ceremonies. And a lot of the tribes that's on the shore, from California to Washington, even on the shores of Florida, all the way up into Canada, they were already traveling the lands of Asia, of Africa, to trade, and vice versa. A lot of the Africans that were on the shores of the shores of the continent of Africa was already traveling to India, to Asia, to America, or Turtle Island, prior to Christopher Columbus. This trading, this connection, we see it in our foods. We see it in our beadwork. We even see it in the dialect of our language. I was at the Navajo Nation with Mother Tynetta, who was the wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan was also there. But Mother Tynetta just came back from Mongolia, and she went to the Navajo Nation, and she said, "Oh my God, it looks like I'm looking at the same people." And she said to hear the dialect of the Dene language, the Navajo Dene language, was very similar to the language that the Mongolian people were speaking. The dialect was still like the same kind of you could hear it just sounded very similar. Totally two different languages, but it sounded similar. And even in regards to the regalia they were wearing and the pieces, when you go to the shore, when you see Ghana, who is the Ivory Coast, and you see their traditional with a whole bunch of medals and beads around their neck, a whole bunch of beads around their neck, right? And in the way that the regalia is in Africa, which is like cloth with beautiful designs on it, and then you go to the Seminole and you see all these beads around their neck with cloth, with beautiful designs and quilted patterns. Looks very similar to the Ivory Coast of Ghana. We all were in our native way. We say Matakiasi. We're all related. All my relations. We're all connected. Are we the same people? No. Like I said, we're monolithic people, but we've traded. We've prior to Columbus. If you talk to your elders that know the history keepers, the story keepers, the griots of all indigenous tribes of the world, they all have a connection story with other race of people. So we all was connected and trading and all of this stuff. There is a cowrie shell that we wear from Africa that they used as money. But I was asking my aunt, because on the African cowrie shell, it's now, we say it looks like the vagina, right? We're just gonna, it's so, and then it looks like the butt, right, with the back of it. But so we have that, and then you also have it where the butt is cut off, of the cowrie shell, and it's just that open part, right? So in our regalia, I wanted a cowrie shell necklace. I'm sorry, dress. I wanted my aunt to make me one. So she did. And I bought these cowrie shells that from an African store. And she was like, no, we keep the butt on, like the butt part. And I was like, I said, well, she said they cut it off. And I was like, do you ever wonder? I said, I said in South Dakota or the plains, we're not near no ocean. How do we get these shells? Like, because these are shells that were in our regalia since the beginning of beginnings. She said, oh, our people traded. She said the people in Washington traded with those that came over from Africa. And then when we would trade with the tribes, so we didn't have contact with the Africans because we were so far, but we would have contact with the other tribes that were near the shores. So when we would trade with them, we would get certain things. And so she was like, that's how we got it. And we put it on our regalia. I said, wow. So reparations. Native Americans have not got reparations. I know that's an ongoing argument. That's an ongoing thing. Like, well, Native Americans shouldn't get reparations. No, we never got reparations. We had lawsuits, just like the Tuskegee experiment was a lawsuit. And there was so many other people that had lawsuits. We had certain lawsuits that we was like, no, you did us wrong. We're taking you to court. We're suing you. That's different than reparations. We have not got reparations. Any money that people like, well, Native Americans, they get a check. Well, shoot, I wish I got a check. Man, I don't get no check. My tribe is the second largest tribe in the United States. The first is the Cherokee. We don't get no check. The only way that a tribe makes money is if they produce a business that creates money. My tribe, 98% of the people are unemployed. That's our statistic rates in South Dakota and Pine Ridge, South Dakota. 98% of the people are unemployed. Why are we unemployed? Because we don't have a business council. Our businesses are not creating enough income to be able for all tribal members to get a stipend. We have a casino, but it's only us going to the casino. So it's not like it's not a tourist attraction. We're in the middle of South Dakota and we have nothing but truckers just go through our reservation. It's not a hot spot. People go to Rapid City to go to Mount Rushmore. Or, that's the only reason why a lot of people are the Badlands to go to South Dakota. We're not producing, and we're not in an area where it's like that. We're not producing something or attraction to be able to bring in income now the Seminoles. The Seminoles, they went and they bought Hard Rock Cafe. They own the Hard Rock name. From that business venture, as well as them producing oranges that we now know as Florida oranges, from the tourists of the gator shows, they're in an amazing location not far from Miami, places that people go to. So they are getting a stipend from the businesses that they're creating. Those that get stipends or money, the government is not giving it to us. It's because of the fact that these tribes are creating businesses, which we too should be doing. If we're creating a business and we get like 1,000 people and we're like, okay, let's create a business, and then let's all focus on this business. And then from there, we'll start cutting a check and everyone will start getting, so we could be able to live for future generations. Now, we do need reparations. They stole America. Black people do need reparations. They stole us and stole America. You know what I'm saying? We all need, I believe, myself being Black and Native American, I see our similarities more than our differences. When I go to my res, it doesn't look that much different than the Bluff. As a matter of fact, the Bluff looks better. The Bluff looks better. The Bluff, for those that don't know, in Atlanta, Georgia, is one of the poorest, crime-ridden communities in Atlanta, Georgia. My res it's I took Dr. Martin Luther, I took Martin Luther King, not doctor, but Martin Luther King the third to Pine Ridge Reservation. And he was out there on his tour against poverty. He was out there for 4 days and he went to every single district. And he said, I've been to Africa. I've been to Haiti, like certain parts of Africa. I've been to the poorest communities in Haiti. I've been to a lot of places, but never have I seen this type of level of poverty ever in my life. He was like, I'm overwhelmed and I don't even know where to start to help your people. I have no clue where to start. This is way above it. I mean, imagine going, and that's where my people are at. That's where my family is at. That's where my nieces and nephews that are 5 years old, 6 years old, that are not seeing themselves on television, that are not seeing themselves being represented at all in music, entertainment, and politics, nothing. And our level of suicide is, we have the highest rate of suicide in the United States. Native American populations have the highest rate of suicide, of alcoholism, of diabetes. And so when we talk about having conversations of reparations, most definitely Native Americans need to be in that conversation. Most definitely Native American leadership need to be at the table with Black leadership in order for us, if we're talking about uniting the Black and the red, most definitely that has to be a part of the conversation, especially because of the fact that we were already trading, working together prior to Columbus. And then after Columbus, then we were slaves as well. A lot of people don't talk about the Native American slavery that happened. We also were slaves as well. And then when we started starting all of the, from the transatlantic slave trade and seeing more of people that we already saw before or heard about in our stories, like, yeah, we know who those people are. We already know. And then we're seeing these stories and seeing it again. And then on top of it, we can't talk about the Indian Removal Act without talking about free slaves, free Africans. We cannot have that conversation about the Indian Removal Act because Black people were also a part of that removal act, of them having to be forced. Paper genocide is real. It's still happening. So when we talk about statistics in 2021 of what Native Americans are still here, there a lot of natives were forced, Black people were forced to say what they look like. Many Native Americans were forced to either put Black or put other or put white. And as well as many Mexicans that were also Native Americans, and Latinos that were also Native Americans from these continents as well. So we cannot just talk, we have to be able to unite in this fight, because our history is very, very much intertwined, especially along the shores of America and North America and South America and Canada, as well as the Caribbean. Well, all of our history is very much intertwined.
So let me ask you a question about the casinos and the land. How did that come? You said that were those lawsuits? Is that how they were able to get what they do have?
No, what happened was, is like, I believe it was it the 70s, where I don't know which tribe or came up with it, was like, you know what, we're on sovereign land, we can have casinos. Like, it legally, like, it was something in regards to our sovereignty. I don't really know that history. Anyone that's in here, make sure you research that history of how we got casinos. But whatever tribe that was like, hey, we can have an opportunity to be able to generate money to make it this a tourist area, because we're begging this government that stole our lands, that removed us from our traditional homelands. They removed us too and put us on other plots of land. So while we're in this fight, we were getting healthcare, which is the worst healthcare. I'm gonna be honest with you. Very bad healthcare. Food was commodity boxes. Remember the government cheese and all of that stuff? There are still tribal members that are still getting those boxes of the Spam and the commodity cheese and all of that stuff, still getting it. That's our free food. Then on top of it, the housing is not good housing. Like 1970 trailer homes in 2021. Like, they're not good housing. But anyway, so we needed to figure out ways to be able to generate some type of income. So this was a way to be able to like, okay, let's have this business venture of casinos. Once some tribes was like, okay, this is doing good, this can help our people, many other tribes begin to jump on getting the casinos as well. Not all casinos are doing well. Many casinos had to close throughout the decades, had to close because it was hurting more than it was helping, because the lifestyle of gambling and all that, everyone just started like gambling, and then alcoholism, and you know what I'm saying, like all these things that these casinos attract started hurting our people. Some of it hurts our people, some of it is helping our people, just depending on, you know, each tribe. Like I said, there's 562 tribes. You know, our casino in South Dakota, it's not, we don't get, no one comes, it's only us. That's the Friday night turn up. Let's go to the casino, and the Saturday or after work. And our people, you know, many of our folks are addicted to gambling, those slot machines, you know, and using their entire paycheck, and it's not helping our people. So that's how, so, you know, a lot of people look at it like it's, oh man, they making money off casino. No, you may see that in certain areas that are closer to major cities, you know, but that's mostly like the eastern and east coast, all the way down to the south, you know, or that's near a major city, you know, but or Phoenix, Arizona, like that or whatever. But even in Phoenix, like it doesn't, there's so many, the Navajo Nation is the third largest tribe, and they have districts in the Navajo Nation that is like 5 hours away from a major city, you know, so that district may not be generating that type of income from the other, you know, that tribe is also getting from the casinos. You know, it's just like any business venture. It's not like, you know, like we all of a sudden got a casino, we're all balling and we're decked out and we're, no, it's not like that. And that's such a huge misconception.
Yeah. And this conversation, I know, like I say, it is definitely being had in these audio digital spaces around reparations, and those of us descendants of chattel slavery and Native Americans, and then the ones that say, well, we were already here, and we're part this and we're part that, and how does this all need to look? So it's a conversation that we got to have, we got to continue to have, and we got to figure it out, and we got to work through it. The Native American community will get is that Black people are saying we have to be specific about our justice claim, just like the natives were specific about theirs, and with the courts. So I think that's what I'm hearing with the biggest pushback. So it is a conversation that we got to continue to have.
Yeah. And there has to be a level of respect, because one thing that I see, because I believe me, everyone tags me in it. I get bullied because I'm both. And people are like, well, she thinks she's more Native than Black, or she thinks she's more Black than Native. It's like, no, I'm both. So I live both experiences. And so I'm able to understand both sides. It's not like, you know, I'm able to understand the bigger picture of it all. We have to have respect for one another, of one another's traditions, cultures. Yeah, we could go as far back as the 1300s and all of that, but we today, we also have to have respect of how we evolved as Black people, and as who we evolved as Native people, you know, and how we are not monolithic. And then also too, we also have to look at the bigger picture of colonialism, of what they did to both of us. The reason why they was calling the 5 tribes the civilized tribes, because they were forced into assimilation, to assimilate into this colonial way of living, because of the fact that they were like, we're going to continue to kill y'all, war with y'all, if y'all do not try to be white. So these 5 tribes, what they call the 5 civilized tribes. Now, the thing that is so deep is the 5 civilized tribes were also the ones that were mixed with Black, or had children with, you know, with Black people, or, you know what I'm saying? Like it was, and that was another thing too. And I talked about this on Breakfast Club as well, on Indigenous Peoples Day, when I said it was designed to keep the slaves next to massa. in the inner city, and the Indian Removal Act to remove so many Native Americans from Black people because of the fact that our unity was so powerful. Our unity was we were, man, we this is why so many Black folks that, like, we have, our ancestors gave us so much land and so much, like, we had so much, and they was like, this can't happen anymore. So right now, even today, they have systems, like, you know how there is like all these bots and all these that go against Black Lives Matter, try to sway the dog. They do the same thing on social media to try to divide Black and Native people today. Because another thing, we are having these reparation talks. They do not want they do not want our unity to happen when it comes down to our sovereignty as people. When it comes down to our liberation, they want to keep it like, nah, Native people don't accept Black folks, and Black folks don't accept Native people. And no, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's clickbait for us, because it's evoking something that they did to us years ago when they pushed and warred with these tribes to be civilized, to own slaves. They was like, okay, you got to own slaves then. They didn't want to own no slaves. They didn't want to be like massa, but many of them bought slaves. Did that slavery look the same as the other slave, like as white folks slavery? No. But did they own slaves? Yes. There is certain conversations, and these are things that have to, there's also reconciliation that has to happen in those spaces as well. There is also a true history of talking to our elders that were products of paper genocide, whether they were Cherokee, but because they look Black, or they were mixed with Cherokee, that they had to put Black and not Cherokee because because that government, this United States government, didn't want that Black person or that Black Cherokee to receive the benefits that they were promising to just make. They gave us little scraps to just help their ego. Like, oh, but I did this. They should be fine. I gave them this little tiny bit of land. I'm giving commodity spam boxes. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're fine. And then, but they do these things to try to make themselves look good. But when we look at the bigger picture, all of us are still under, we're still, our necks are still at the foot of white supremacy, Black and Native and brown people.
Well, let me ask you one final question, because we're at the top of the item. Let me ask you a question, and let's see where we go with this. What if those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery said to Native Americans, support us in this justice claim, support us in writing, in getting this part right, because Black Americans, those of us who are descendants, have never gotten anything. Sadly, you were pushed off your land, but you got something. Even with the casinos, you've gotten something. Those of us who are descendants have never gotten anything. So what if the ask was to Native Americans, support us in this justice claim? And somebody like you, who is of mixed heritage, we already know what you're going to do with it. It's going right back to your community. It's going right back to strengthen, to do the work that you're already doing. We're clear about that. So what if that was the ask? What do you think Natives would say to that?
I believe, without the influence of white folks, white colonial mindset folks that are in place in some of these tribal offices, because that's real too. And we also have that also in the Black community as well. Mm-hmm. I think there needs to be a very transparent sit down. I think that can happen but I feel that, because I've been in meetings like that. I've established meetings like that with Black leadership, with Native leadership, and cameras away, social media away, and there's leadership at the table. Oh my God, the ancestors be rejoicing. They understand each other. It goes down to both parties, both nations of people being humble and learning from each other. That is the biggest thing of why our unity can happen, is because we are learning about each other in a book and not going to each other's communities to see, to break bread. You know, I sat the former president of the Navajo Nation, with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we had dinner. We was at that dinner table for almost 6 hours. It was the most beautiful exchange where the president of the Navajo Nation said, "Come to the Navajo Nation." And they loved each other. But guess what happened? There were white news reporters that came in the middle of that beautiful exchange with other Navajo tribal council, and was all like, "You all know who you have here. He's an anti-Semitic. He's this, he's that, da, 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 da," and to divide that exchange. I've seen this happen with some throughout my years, because I was born in the movement. I was born in 1978. I was American Indian movement baby when the Black Panthers and the American Indian movement came together to fight many, many fights. I've seen this unity happen with with Muammar Gaddafi, the president of Libya, when he was bringing everyone to the table in Libya to say, "Let's come together. How, if I give you all money, how would y'all build out your communities?" I saw this happen. It's a beautiful thing to happen. But we have to also be very educated and know that we have an enemy that is greed, that tries to divide our unity. And for that reason, if we're not conscious enough of that, then we will constantly be divided in this reparation talk. We have to be able to, I believe, I saw it happen when we come together on leadership, on grassroots, in marches. It's the most beautiful thing. Oh my God, it's beautiful. But if we come together behind closed doors and have a real conversation about reparations and what we need as indigenous original people of Turtle Island, not just Black and natives, but we have to also have the conversation with our Latino brothers and sisters as well, that also are still being treated as slaves in 2021. We have to have this real conversation and have an understanding of who we are, where we evolve to, where we're at. And I believe that, but that's the thing, man. I
And
just
you're
feel
big
like,
picture. You're big picture, and you see the big picture. Where I'm down on this micro level, and I'm saying we got to take this and eat this elephant one bite at a time.
it would
And
happen.
if we
It
could
can happen.
if we could take one bite at a time and see this big picture as you see it, I think we can, we can definitely get a lot of stuff done. But we're at the top of the hour. I just want to thank you. If you are not following this queen, Yonasda, did I help me?
Yo-Naja Ha.
No, Yo-Naja Ha, Yo-Naja Ha. I got to keep talking to you more so I can learn your name, because I am committed to learning how to say your name.
Thank you so much.
I am. She is beautiful, y'all. And it was just such an honor to have her. I do want to continue to have this conversation because, at the top of my agenda is reparations. This needs to look like what it needs to look like. And
let's make it happen. I'm here to assist you in this. I will help you with getting Native American leadership, to make this happen. We'll all be at the table. We can make this happen. I've brought many leaders together before, and I've never talked about this publicly, but I have, and we've made a lot of different from business relationships to a lot of different things, and we can really, really make this happen, But then let's get the state of Georgia to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, we're trying to get the state of Georgia to do a lot of things. There's a bill in Georgia, AB 541, to establish, doesn't say reparations, but a commission to study the impact of slavery on those of us who are descendants on chattel slaves. So I was going to ask you, had there been a bill introduced for Indigenous People Day yet here in Georgia? Not yet. Okay, we need to get working on that.
State Representative Park Cannon was just able to get them to acknowledge Native American Heritage Month just last week, and so wow. I have that proclamation. I'm going to be putting that on my wall today, but I got that proclamation. She handed it to me. It was such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But let's get this holiday change in the state of Georgia. So anything that you can help, would be amazing and a blessing to we plan as in our native way. we plan for 7 generations from now. We don't plan for today. We plan for 7 generations of now. So
Amen.
The work that we're doing today is for 7 generations from now.
Amen.
So let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. So y'all follow her right here. And she's going to come back at one day soon. I'm hopeful that we'll get her back. And I know she's busy, but hopefully one day soon we will get you back, Queen. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, peace.
Bye-bye. So y'all, the queen was with us today. That conversation was amazing. Thank you. You know, I try to bring it to you, y'all, every week, giving voice to issues, activists, and activism. Please support this broadcast. TamaraShealey.com. This is independent media. This is where we do what we do. We tell our own stories because traditional media is not going to do it. So this is where we do it. Go to the website, support the broadcast, TamaraShealey.com. I am a candidate for the United States Senate, taking a bold agenda to Washington, y'all. Reparations is centered for those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery. We have a bold agenda that we're taking to Washington. Let's work alongside these churches, y'all, in this reparations movement. I am actively engaging with pastors and churches and churchgoers because we have to have a message, reparationsunday.com. Go to the website, check out the work that we're doing there. And again, let's support Georgia. Georgia has a bill, HB 541. HB 541 is in the Georgia legislature this session. 2022 it was introduced in 2021, back in 2022, to support a commission to study the impact of slavery on those of us who are descendants of chattel slaves right here in the state of Georgia. You can find me on Tuesday nights, White Women for Reparations, y'all. I am gathering white women that are not afraid, ashamed, scared to have a conversation about reparations. They standing with us in this fight. And we are listening to a book, The History of White People. We started listening to this past Tuesday, History of White People, on Clubhouse in the room titled #White Women for Reparations. You can also find me on Thursdays on the Clubhouse app. White Women, Black Women, Let's Talk. Oh, it gets deep. It gets deep. We go there. We don't hold back. And this is how we heal. This is how we move this nation forward. We have to have those hard conversations, and we do. And we absolutely do. Please, y'all, it's the holiday season. Happy holidays. We just got past Thanksgiving. For those of you that celebrate these holidays, holiday season is upon us. Go to the website, y'all. My fundraisers page, Tamara for Georgia. Go to the fundraisers page, Polish and Politics. I've tried to be as creative as I can be with getting contributions, y'all. Sometimes you got to give to get, and I'm okay with that. So we have some really cute little items on this Polish and Politics page. Go to the website on the Tamara for Georgia fundraisers page, click Polish and Politics, takes you to another site, and we have some cute stuff with your donation. So please, this holiday season, before you spend money with these stores, these retail outlets, put it back into this campaign. We have a race to the United States Senate to win. Get your campaign swag, y'all. If you got t-shirts, we got mugs, we got sweatshirts, all kinds of swag on the Tamara for Georgia website. Go to the fundraisers page. So I am Tamara Johnson Shealey, y'all. I'll be back next week right here, bringing you more updates, information. I'll be back next week. Y'all have a great week.
When we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check. Young prodigies. Grow. Free. Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud. 1, 2, mic check. Cream. Cash rules everything around me. Dream. My legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres. Ain't y'all 40 in our paper.
Kicking the door. Coming for our 40 acres and more. 6.4 trillion. Miss said no, we fought the Civil War.
We came from the poor. give me them racks. All fat, just a match and a little bit of gasoline. 4 girls got burned back in 63.
400 years and we still ain't free. Our rise, we rise, taking it.
Capping it. Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud. 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me.
Coming for our 40 acres, HR40 and our check.
We stuck in the trap with no shoes, trying to pull up bootstraps. Increasing the gap. Wealth got bigger, so we had to adapt. Discriminated cause we black. I know it worth more than I know it's a fact. They tryna feel scraps. Strike me on board so we can't come back.
30 years ago on April 19, Yusef and Try Remy Chemical Reed.
If it happened to them, think it happened to me. It's Cubans out ready